Whoever you are in the comments, type your name in so I know who it is. So far, only see one person watching. All right, let me know who's in. Type in the comments. Let me know who's watching right now. Since I can't see who's watching, I need you to type your name in so I know who we have live already. Can I get some type of interaction? I need some. Okay, I need somebody to type their name in the comments so I know who's watching. Hello, hello. Anybody out there? Okay. All right. I see we got some people watching from a TV. It looks like there's 2 viewers, so I don't know who the second one is. I'll give it another minute before I get started. But if you're one of the 2 viewers, if you can comment, please let me know who you are that's watching. All right. Well, I just added a link if anybody wants to come in and ask a question. For those of you watching over the TV, feel free to text my phone. I haven't done a presentation in a while, so I just wanted to get up here. just go through a few things about how to save so that we can just keep some interaction. Just being in the family. I know we have a lot of people, different spans of life. Some people are retirement, some people are just starting. So I just want to get this out there. A few tips for everybody to pay attention to on how to save, why to save, and what you're saving towards. So I have about 12 slides that I'll go through about saving and just some tips that I normally use. If anybody has any questions, again, if you're at a spot where you can comment, please put your questions in the comments. If not, feel free to shoot me a text. I got my phone sitting right here. Or I just put a link on YouTube. If you want to join me live and ask your question, audio, video, just hit that link. It'll take you through the studio and I'll bring you up. I can see that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I don't want to hold everybody too long. So this is one of the main reasons I want to do this. These are some general facts about saving. These statistics have been around for at least the past 40 years, and these statistics have not changed much from what you see on the screen right now. So, first fact, only 58%, well, 58% of all Americans have less than $5,000 in savings. 42% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. So what that tells me is that the majority of the country does not have enough money to cover not only their future, but day-to-day life activities and emergencies, because 30% of Americans have no savings at all. This is what creates the payday loan epidemic. This is what creates Klarma and PayPal later and all these other online things, credit card debt, things where people try to get something now instead of waiting and saving so that they don't have to stress in the future. Savings limit stress. The more money you have saved, the less you have to stress about when life happens. That's pretty much how I live my life. I try to make sure that I can cover any situation that pops up, and I try to make sure that I have the resources to take care of it at that time. So when you have it and you know that you can handle it, it makes living life a lot easier. So these are the general facts about saving. Okay, next slide. To me, these are the 4 pillars of financial strength. Awareness, discipline, provision, and generosity. Once you're aware of where you are, then you got to have the discipline to be able to get out of it. Once you get that discipline, then you need to be able to prepare for what life has in store for you. And once you're prepared, if you have the excess, you're supposed to give. We're all Christians. We all believe in being cheerful givers, not only in the church, but in the community, those less fortunate. All right. So for some reason, over the past 5 to 10 years, I've been talking to a lot of people about just finances in general. All my friends, they come to me whenever they have a problem, they have a question about their finances. I've heard pretty much every story you can hear about what happened with someone and why they need money and what they need it for. So over the course of the 5 to 10 years that I've had people ask me stuff and try to get tips and guidance, these are usually the 4 reasons why most people can't save money. The first one is bad luck. Life happens. We know stuff can pop up last minute. You could lose your job. You can have a major accident. You could try to go and help someone else who's close to you. Bad luck happens. Emergencies happen. That's a part of life. That's unavoidable for the most part. But these next 3, we dig ourselves in these holes every single day. The first one that I've noticed is people are normally house poor. What I mean by house poor is, let's say you're a single person and you're making decent money, but you want to live on the expensive side of town. So you may bring in 4,000 a month, but you're paying $2,500 a month in rent or mortgage. Once you're spending that much on a place to stay, it makes it hard to be able to keep up with all of your other expenses. The next thing is carpool. Now, this one is the one we all fall victim to. See a nice car, want to have a nice car, go out and buy the newest car. The average car loan right now is about $700 a month. So now you're paying $700 a month towards a vehicle. You still got to get insurance, you still got to get gas, and you still got to live your everyday life. In some situations, people's houses are as much or slightly less than half of what they're paying for their cars. And when you're in a situation like that, makes it almost impossible to save money. Then the last one is personal debt. Personal debt can be student loans. Personal debt can be payday loans. Personal debt can be credit cards. When you don't take care of your finances on the front end, that's when this bottom one comes through. It could be borrowing money from friends and family members. A lot of people don't see that as a way to get in debt, but you'd be surprised how many people will go to friends and family and borrow money, and then those numbers continue to stockpile up. Not only is that a bad thing for yourself, but that's a bad thing for your family because it makes it hard to eat Thanksgiving dinner when everybody's looking at you saying you owe me X amount of dollars. So hopefully some of these tips I can give will help people going forward into trying to avoid these pitfalls and help them better save. Now, for me, I watch a lot of Dave Ramsey. They don't use what I'm about to put up here, but when I watch and I hear people talk, this is what comes to my mind as the formula for why people can't save money. And that formula is money equals math minus the emotions. Now, the money is the money. So if you got $1,000, that's $1,000. That's what it's supposed to be. The math says it's $1,000, but then the emotions comes in and it makes that money start to shrink a lot more. And people will say, well, I don't know where my money went. Well, basically, your emotions took your money away. And here are a few examples of what I mean by emotions. Emotions will tell us you worked hard all week, you deserve a reward. So that reward may be going out for $50 in drinks every week. That award could be I got to drink 3 Cokes a day. That reward could be I'm gonna take this trip that I can't afford. But in your mind, you think, well, I work hard every day at 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. I deserve to treat myself. That is the case, but if you can't afford it, you got to be able to save for those rewards. Those rewards should not come out of debt. They should come out of working and saving for them. Some people's emotions will tell us, well, this just came up. This is the only way I can get out of a situation. And sometimes that is the case, but for the most part, those situations are not do or die. It's really more of a want than a need. But our emotions will tell us, well, this is something that I need to do, and this is the only way that I can get out of it. Um, our emotions will tell us, well, Johnny down the street has a new car. We live on the same street. Why can't I have a new car? Or my best friend just took a trip to the Bahamas. Why can't I take a trip to the Bahamas? So and so's kid at the PTA has a pair of Jordans on every time I see him. Why can't my kid have a pair of Jordans? These are what emotions tell us. Emotions also tell us, well, if I do this today, I'll worry about tomorrow later. So if I want to take a trip after the school year ends or once summer starts, I'll say, well, I'm going to take this trip. I don't have the money for it. I'll put it on this credit card and I'll figure out how to pay it later. And later begins to snowball and snowball until later ends up being a maxed out credit card earning 29% interest. And then you got to figure out how to pay that out. So these are some of the reasons why we can't save money, and those all lead into debt. So when I talk about setting a budget, I have an acronym that I created. I don't know if I've shared this before with the family, but I shared this at our men's fellowship, and they all really seem to take a liking to it and really resonate with what I was saying. So when it comes to saving money, I try to use this acronym when it comes to doing a budget. And that acronym is TRAP. TRAP. TRAP stands for transparency, reasonable, accountability, and purpose. So when you're setting a budget, the first thing you need to do is the T, transparent. Transparency means being honest and realistic about your situation. That means not only do you put down all of the income that you make, but you also put down all of your expenses. You can't determine what to cut if you don't put it all down. Now, I remember when I did this presentation in church, we were talking about transparency, and I was saying how some people will go out and spend $20, $30 in lunch a couple of days a week. And in their mind, it's like, well, that's just lunch. But you got to be honest and realistic. $20, $25 in lunch is overspending. So if you want to keep it, you need to put it in your budget so you can account for it. Because if you do a $25 lunch once a week, let's say twice a week, if you do a $25 lunch twice a week, that's $50 a week. That's $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. So when you look at your budget at the month and you're $400 short, those $25 lunches could have shaved $100 off of that deficit. People have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, what are the other ones? HBO Max, Stars, Disney Channel, just stockpiling subscriptions. Now, if you're not transparent, you will just say, well, I'm just paying for my cable bill. Your cable bill is $150. But with those subscriptions, you just added another $90 a month for subscriptions. Most people don't put that in their budget because they're not transparent about it. So when you're not transparent about it, then again, at the end of the month, your budget's $400 short and you don't know why. I just showed you another $90 in subscriptions that you did not account for. You can't determine what to cut if you don't put it all down. If you like to have, like I said, 2 or 3 Cokes out of the vending machine, that's $3 a day. Doesn't sound like a lot until you look at a 30-day period or a 20-day period for work. So you at work 20 days a month, you're spending $375 a day, you're at almost $70 a month in Cokes. Looking at it, just the one number is small, but that number can snowball and it can ruin your budget. So you have to be transparent with yourself with all of your expenses as well as all of your income. Going back to income, some people may put their budget at, well, I have a full-time job, but I started this business, and in a good month, my side business may make $1,000 a month. Now that's a good month. Most of the time, your side business is making you $200 a month, or you're barely breaking even. But you put $1,000 a month in your budget. Now, when you make your budget and you base your expenses off that extra $1,000, you're going to end up $1,000, and you're going to end up $1,000 in the hole because that $1,000 that you put at the income at the top, that's not consistent. So you have to be transparent with yourself when it comes to your income as well as your expenses. All right, so now we'll go to the R in trap, and that's realistic. Um, you have to know yourself and what you can give up. A budget is not something you use to punish yourself. A budget is something you use to stay on track. So when you stay on track, you not only have to put everything that you do, you also need to be realistic with what those are. It's okay to have vices. If you like to have 3 Cokes a day and you know you can't give up 3 Cokes a day, you need to put that in the budget as a line item so that it will be accounted for. If you have something you can't give up, at least try to reduce it. Again, 3 Cokes, $70 a month. Let's cut 1 Coke out. That's $25 a month you put back in your budget. If you can give it up, try to reduce it. If you know every Friday, because emotions tell you, this is going back to the first slide. Emotions tell you, I work hard Monday through Thursday. On Friday, I need to reward myself. So we're going to go and have a $30 lunch. Now, put that in your budget as a transparent item. Be realistic about the amount. But if you're trying to balance your budget, maybe you only do that 3 times a month. If you know you like to do that for yourself, if you can find a line item for it and it fits, keep it in there. If not, let's try to dial back on some of those things. Realistically, if emotions tell you you need to get a new car because your car is broken down. Now, all honestly, you can buy a nice used car for 10 to 15,000 and you're going to get essentially the same amount of use as you would a car that you bought off the lot. But let's say you went out and paid $40,000 for a car and that car is costing you $800 a month. If your budget cannot allow for it, be realistic with yourself. Maybe you can go get the same car used for 20 instead of buying it new for 40, or you buy a $20,000 car. You got to be realistic with yourself and know what you give up, what you got to give up. But you have to know yourself and what you can give up. That's being realistic with yourself and in your budget. All right, so now we'll go to the A in trap, and that is accountability. When you're making your budget, you're only accountable to yourself. I hear far too often when people are short in what they think they have and they make excuses. So, for example, I had a friend who was trying to buy a house and he was trying to save his 3% for his FHA loan. And for him, 3% was, I think, about $4,000. So when he came to me, he was asking me to kind of help him to save money. So of course, I didn't want to look at everything he had because I don't want to cross those lines. But I just asked him basic stuff. I didn't ask for income because I don't want to know what people make. But I did ask him to list his expenses. So when he listed out his expenses, we came to find out that he left out quite a few expenses. And instead of just saying, I left those out, he made excuses for him. Like, I had to go get some new brakes, or I had to pay for a kid's trip or something like that. So the excuses he was making were like $200 to $300 excuses. But he saved $1,200 and he couldn't save any more between $1,200 and $4,000. So instead of really looking at the fact that he buys a new pair of Jordans with the matching watch and the matching hat at least once a month, he's using the excuse of, I had to get new brakes for my car. That's not being accountable. you have to be accountable if you lose control of your finances. That's the only way that you will figure out what the problem is. You have to remember this is a marathon and not a sprint. You're gonna fall down sometimes, but when you do fall, don't make excuses. Look at what happened, say, this is why this happened, and I'm gonna try to do my best not to let it happen again. And to be honest, we're all human. It's probably gonna happen again. But when it does happen again, take accountability for it. You have to understand why you made the mistake and work to resolve it. Going back to my friend again, he didn't tell me that he was buying this stuff. You can see it. So every time I saw him, he always had on a pair of Jordans, $150 watch, new hat, glasses, chain, all that. So one time we were talking, I think we met like 5 times over the course of 6 months. And I had an idea of what he made just because I knew where he worked at. So I was like, well, I know you make at least 60,000. How can you not save $3,000 over the course of 6 months? And then he gave me these excuses. I said, but I've seen you 4 times in the past 6 months. Every time I see you, it looks like you got a brand new pair of shoes on. And those shoes cost at least $300. Oh, the watch matches the shoes. So that means you watch with the shoes. So you saying you can't get past $1,200, but over the few times that I've seen you, I see another $2,000 in shoes and watches alone. And of course, he just stumbled over whatever excuse he could think of. And I mean, it's his money at the end of the day. He asked for my opinion. I just gave it to him. But that's just an example of not taking accountability. Now, I use that example to go into the P in trap, and that's purpose. You have to remember your why. This is why I'm doing this. For my friend, he was trying to buy a house and he needed his 3% or his 3.5% for his down payment. He didn't have his eye on the purpose. He was just trying to fulfill his emotions and keep buying expensive stuff instead of saving for what he was supposed to save for. You have to begin with the end in mind. Your end could be, I want to get a down payment on a house. Your end could be, I know I need to buy a new car soon. Your end could be, I have a 5-year-old and I want to put some money aside for them when they go to college. Your end could be, I want to take a vacation in August and this is September. How do I get from A to B? Or your why could be, I just want to have some money in the bank so that if a situation arises, I can be able to deal with most situations. That amount could be $1,000, it could be $5,000, it could be 3 to 6 months of expenses. But once you know what your why is and you know what your end game is, now you have to set your goals and try to stick to them. And that's where your budget comes in at. Because a plan without a goal is a dream. We can all say, I'm going to create a budget, but we don't know why we're creating a budget. We're just doing it because the family started this Facebook group and we tell people you need to have a budget. No, you need to have your own purpose for why you want a budget, because if you don't have a purpose, you're not going to stick to it. So if you put the end game somewhere, it can be on a piece of paper, it could be on your refrigerator, it can just be in your head. If you have an end game to why you're doing this, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to stick to it. Okay, so we talked about why you should do a budget, and we kind of talked about the 4 reasons of how you save your money. Now, I'm at the point now where I don't really do what I would consider a traditional budget. I kind of back into certain numbers, But for me personally, I've said this before. I have several bank accounts. They don't all have a lot of money in them, but I just like to keep my stuff separate. So for me personally, this is what helps me save money. And these are the types of bank accounts that I use. So number one, I have a checking account for just my bills. Now, I've told people that I have 4 or 5 bank accounts, and they tell me that that's crazy. My response to that would be, if you only have one bank account and that bank account starts with $3,000 and at the end of the month is at zero, how do you differentiate between how much went towards bills, how much did you put towards gas, how much did you spend towards food? If all of your stuff is in one account, you may have 100 different transactions in it. And what I've found for some of my friends, for example, when you're living paycheck to paycheck or month to month, if you're short on a bill and you don't have the money for it, you don't know how that happened or why. So for me, all of my bills get paid out of one checking account. So I know how much my mortgage is, my lights, my cable, my insurance. I have a general idea of how much I pay for food, gas. All of that gets paid out of one account. So I know that by the 10th of every month, this account needs to have X amount of dollars in it. I have no credit, I have no debit card tied to this account. The only thing I have is an account that I put this amount of money in, and by the 10th, it's going to have this amount of money in it. And by the 10th, it's probably going to get wiped out for paying my bills, and then I start up again. So then I have another checking account for my everyday spending. Now, this is the account where I, if I want to get some gas, if I want to go out to like a lunch, um, just everyday stuff. This is the account where I do that in. In this account, I rarely have more than $250 in it at any time. This is the account tied to my debit card. So if I go somewhere and if I lose my wallet or somebody steals my wallet or I get knocked in the head, all they're going to get out of me is $250 because that's all I keep in that account. So those are my first two accounts. My third account, this is a Dave Ramsey principle, $1,000 in emergency savings. So I go back to my first slide. Only 42% of Americans have $1,000 in a savings account. That number's been the same for 40 years. So if it's good enough for more than half the country, it's good enough for me. So for me personally, I have an emergency account of $1,000. If you get to a point where you think you need more, you can take it up to $1,500, $2,000, but you don't need a lot of money in this account because I'm going to go back again to emotions. When people think about emotions and emergencies, they always think of, well, I need to have $10,000 in the bank because of XYZ. But if you really think about your life, how many times in your life have you really spent $10,000, $5,000 at one time for a true emergency? I can guarantee you that most of us have done that more than one time. So if you think about it, there's really no reason why you should have $5,000 sitting in a bank account drawing 0.0001% interest. You only need $1,000. You have a flat tire. You have to go to the emergency room for something. You have to get a car towed. Somebody close to you has an emergency and you want to help them out. Most of those emergencies are really not that much money. So once you get this $1,000, that $1,000 sits there and you don't touch it until an emergency happens. So for this account, that account may sit there like that for 20 years. So once you get $1,000, you check that box, you don't look at that account again unless you need to. My fourth bank account. This account, I have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. And with this account, I put that money in either a money market account or a high yield savings account. Or you could possibly put it into a CD that rotates every 3 to 7 months. The reason I say that is because you want to have the money available, but at the same time, you want to draw a little bit of interest on it. So let's say your expenses are $2,000 a month. If you put 3 months worth of expenses in this account, that'll be $6,000 that you'll have in that account. If you were to put that 6,000 into a high yield savings account that's drawing 3%, that's $180. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's basically free money that you can do whatever you want with it. For me personally, I put my 3 to 6 months of expenses in an account. It's getting me 3%. I take that money and I use to buy my Christmas gifts at the end of the year. So when Christmas time comes, whatever sat in that account, I just let the interest build up. And then in December, I pull that interest out, whatever it is, that's what I use to buy all my Christmas gifts. So if I'm doing Christmas gifts, I host a brunch for the people that work for me. I use some money for that. So that's kind of what I use the money for. Or if you just want to have a $100, $200 treat for yourself at some point during the year, just take the interest off of that. That's free money you get without touching your principal. So once you get to wherever your gauge is, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, you don't put any more money in there until you need it. And I'll talk in a future slide about when you will touch these 2 bank accounts. So that's 4 bank accounts. And then I have my 5th bank account. Now, this is my discretionary spending account. So if I know I plan on taking 3 trips a year, I'll put that money in this account. I like to play fantasy football with my friends, so I put my fantasy football money for the year in this account. I don't believe in buying new cars. I don't think I've ever talked about this with the family, but I will not buy a car unless it's at least 3 years old. And I only pay cash for vehicles, and I drive my vehicles in the ground until they can't crank anymore. That's my philosophy on a vehicle. So I use this 5th account for what I would call a car fund. So I'll just say this, somebody else may want to take this as well. I put $300 a month into an account, and that's my car account. So right now, I own 2 vehicles. I have a 2011 Expedition and I have a 2016 Chrysler 300. I paid cash for both of them. For the truck, I paid $5,700. For the car, I paid what I paid for that car, $11,000. So for my car fund, I put $300 a month into that fund, and I never stop. The average car note is $700, so I'm already saving $400 a month. If I don't touch that account for 4 years, let's say 5 years, because that's the average price of a used car. When you buy a car, you're paying 5 years on it. So if I would have put $300 a month into an account for 5 years, and I want you guys to think about this, I would have $18,000 cash in a bank account. So if I can let my 2011 Ford Expedition last me for 5 years without having to buy a new car, in 5 years, if I decide I want to get rid of it, I can just go to the auction or to a used car lot and I can pay cash for another car. And I just replenish the account again. If I keep it for 7 years, I can have 20,000 in there. So the longer you get a car, the more you can afford to buy on a car the next time. And by the way, I would never spend $20,000 on a car. That's just me being crazy. So, and I've been doing this since 2010. So, when I bought my first car, and I give a little bit of history. I know we're running late, but I want people to understand this because you hear me say a number, you think that's a big number. I can't get to it, but just hear my history of buying cars. So I bought my first vehicle in 2007. I bought a Ford Expedition. I paid 8,700 for it. I sold the car my parents got me in high school, and then I added $3,000 onto that, and I bought my first car. I think I paid for a year on that car, so I paid 300 a month. That's where the 300 came from. So I paid that truck off. I kept saving 300 a month from 2008 to 2012. So that's 4 years. That was $14,000. I bought my blue Charger that y'all remember me having. I paid $15,000 for it. So I had saved 14 and some change from the first vehicle because I didn't buy another vehicle, and I put 300. So I bought that Charger, paid cash for it in 2012. From 2012 to 2018, I didn't buy another car. So I'm still paying 300 a month, and I'm just driving that car until the wheels fall off of it. So in 2018, I had like 19,000 saved. I sold the Charger for whatever I can get for it. It pretty much was worthless. I bought another car and another truck. I paid 3,900 for the truck. I paid 14 for the car. So I spent 17. I had about 5 left in that account. Kept paying 300 a month into the account again. I drove that black Charger and that white Expedition from 2018 to 2022. So another 4 years of saving 300 a month. Then I bought the vehicles I got now, and I've been driving them for 4 years. And again, I paid 5,700 for my truck. I paid 11,000 for my car. So it can be done. You just don't have to buy a $40,000 car. You can buy a nice $15,000 car, and instead of paying $700 a month to a dealership, pay yourself $500. If you can make your car last for 6 or 7 years, at the end of that time, you're gonna have a nice pretty penny to go out and buy your next car. And because I buy my cars used, I also pull money out to do my repairs with it. So at the end of the day, it all kind of balances out. But I'm saving myself a lot more money than going out and buying a new car every 5 to 6 years. So that's what I use my car fund for. I also, if I'm going to take a couple vacations, I'll take money from that, or any other personal pleasures. Like if the family goes to Ali Sadiq, like we're gonna do, the money will come out of there. I have a trip planned next month, so that's kind of what I use my discretionary account for. I don't pull it from my bill check. I don't pull it from my everyday spending. My emergency fund stays the same. My 3 to 6 months of expenses stay the same. So if I have a trip planned next month, if an emergency happens, I don't have to decide, do I cancel my trip or do I handle this emergency? I've already saved to account for my emergencies in the past. That's where the peace of mind comes in at. So instead of trying to plan in the future how I'm going to deal with it, I can take care of it right now and wash my hands of it and keep moving on in everyday life. So I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is what I do in terms of how I allocate my money. And then once I go through all 5 of these accounts, whatever I have left is what I put in savings. But again, once I put $1,000 in an emergency account, I don't look at that again. That's already taken care of. Once I get to 3 months of expenses, whatever money I was putting in there, I don't have to put it in there anymore. That's taken care of until I have to need it and replenish it. So once you can get past 1, 2, 3, and 4, and get those done, then the fifth bank account and your savings, that's when you can start trying to build on that. Now, this does take a lot of discipline because in order to get to this, it's probably going to take you about 2 years to get one, two, three, and four for most people. And then you got to account for the debt that you already have. And we'll probably have to do another presentation at a later date to talk about debt because once you start talking about debt, I might get a little bit too preachy, and I don't want to throw too much at y'all today. All right, so now we talked about the $1,000 in the emergency account. These are the situations where the emergency savings are used. Number one, unexpected expenses. Like I said before, you hit a pothole and you crack your rim, you blow out a tire. That's when you get your $1,000. You got to get your car towed. It has to be something that disrupts your everyday life. It needs to be something that has to be taken care of within 72 hours. Because if you can wait a week to do it, it's not technically an emergency. So if you have a pipe burst and your house is flooding or your yard is flooding, that's something you need to get taken care of right now because you got to have water in your house. If your AC unit goes out, now $1,000 won't cover that, but that's a situation where you use a part of that emergency to take care of it because you don't want to live in a house where you're freezing or you're burning up. What emergency funds are not used for? They're not used for vacations. They're not used to buy new clothes. I gave this example at the church. If you save $1,000, and this was in February when I did this. So I said, if you saved $1,000 and Easter is coming up, you wanting to buy an Easter suit is not an emergency. If spring break is coming up and you didn't plan for it, taking your kids to the water park or the Gatlinburg or to Hot Springs is not an emergency. If somebody comes to you and says, I got whatever you want to put in this, fill in the blank. I got this item. It normally sells for $800, but I can sell it to you right now for $500. That's not an emergency. If you go into a clothing store and you see something you wanted and it's marked off 70%, that's not an emergency. Emergencies are something that disrupts your everyday life and is something unexpected. That's when you use your emergency savings. I only got one more slide and then I get out of here. For the 3 to 6 months of expenses, this is what I use to determine that. First of all, this goes back to your budget. You need to be transparent and put all of your bills for the month. So when we leave today, one piece of homework I got for you guys. This is April 19th. So you got from now to May 1st to kind of figure out your bills and get stuff separated. So starting May 1st, I want you to pull out all of your bills and I want you to itemize them, list them out. And then for the month of May, I want you to keep track of how much you spend for gas, how much you spend for food, and how much you spend on other stuff. And other stuff can be whatever you want it to be. But keep track of it for 1 month. And then I want you to really take a look at what you spent and how much you spent. And from there, you can determine what your budget can be. So if you spend, gas prices are ridiculous right now. So if you're spending $300 a month in gas, if you drive a big SUV like I do, you can easily do that. You need to figure out, where did I go to spend that much in gas to fill my tank up 4 to 5 times? What can I cut out? If your grocery bill is less than your eating out bill, you need to take a look at, what can I do to decrease this one and make this one go up so that there's some margin in there. So if you're spending $400 a month for groceries and you're spending $500 a month eating out, that's something you need to compare and analyze. If you're paying for Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, YouTube TV, Sling, if you're paying for 5, 6, 7 different TV subscriptions during the month of May, pay attention to how much you watch those subscriptions, because you could probably let 2 or 3 of them go and your everyday life wouldn't change, but you save about $30 a month, $30, $40 a month. So month of April, from now to April 30th, itemize all your bills, try to find a way to separate them out, maybe open up that second bank account like I talked about. If you have a checking account and you have your check going into an account, 9 times out of 10, you can open a separate checking account without them charging you monthly fees, because that one account will kind of take care of it'll take care of whatever stipulations they have. So open up that second bank account, or I don't suggest this if you're not disciplined, but you could use your credit card for the month to keep track of certain things. So certain things you pay with your debit card, certain things you pay with your credit card. But if you do that, make sure you have the money in your account to pay that credit card off. I just want you to see a separation. So add all those bills up. Once you do that, look at all the bills that you need to survive in a month. That would be the 4 walls and a roof. That'll be lights and water. That'll be insurance, and that'll be a way to contact the outside world, cell phone, and internet. You can also put a modest amount in for food. So if you're going out to eat 4 nights a week, if something happens and you can't work, 4 nights a week is going out the window anyway. So you need to put an amount in that if you had no way to get around, what would you eat for a week? Put that amount in and have enough gas to get from work and back and to handle any other necessary travel. So if your kids are in after school stuff that's free, figure out how much gas you need to get from A to B there, how much gas you need to get to work, how much gas you need to get to church, how much gas you need to go grocery shopping. That's all the money you need to figure out. Once you know what that number is for the month, multiply that times 3 or times 6. And that's how much this account needs to have in it. For me, for example, I work for the government. We had a 45-day shutdown. Because I had 3 months of expenses saved up, I had no worries, because I knew if worse came to worse, I can just pull from that account to pay my bills. And when I got my check, I just put the money back in this account. But I didn't have to worry about how I was going to keep my lights on for that month, or how I was going to get food, or how I was going to get gas to travel around. I already had it taken care of. So that's pretty much all I have. We're at 55 minutes. So I appreciate everybody who stuck with me for most of the time. I wish I could see who it was, because nobody got in the comments. But thank you to everybody who's watching. If you have any questions, again, my phone is right here. Feel free to send a text in. I'll stay for another minute or so. If not, we'll try to plan another one of these presentations. I'll talk more about debt and how to get out of debt. And I'll talk more about where to save and how to save. I do plan on trying to bring in some other guests. The ones we had in the past, some were good, some were not so good. So I'm going to try to do a better job of vetting who we get to come in. I'm going to make sure that the guests have something that they can provide to the family, and they're not trying to sell something. So that makes it very hard to do, because everybody who works in this field is trying to find a way to make a dollar. So if anybody has any type of specific person that they want me to try to bring in, just let me know. Okay. Well, I appreciate Kim and the parents watching. I know Bree hit me up before. Bree, whoever was watching with you, I appreciate y'all watching. I see it's still two other viewers, so if any of the other viewers are there, thank you for watching as well. I see I got somebody else writing something, so I'll wait a minute and see what this is. Thank you, Laverne. I appreciate it. Kim asked the question, how can we start to save for the 5 great grandkids? So again, that takes us back to trap. And that takes us back to the P in trap, and that's purpose. So what I would suggest is if you want to save for the 5 grandkids, and I think I've talked about this before, if you're trying to save for college, and this is for anybody who has kids under 7 years old, take advantage of time because time is your greatest weapon with savings and the power of compound interest. So if you have any kids under 7, and this for anybody, Joe, if you're watching, I know Shawnee may be watching because I think you liked it too. My sister with Owen, you have a child under 7. Look into a 529 account. A 529 account is an account where you can put money in it, and that money will accrue interest over time. And when those kids get in college, they can pull that money to pay for education expenses. So let's say time value of money. If you were to put money into a mutual fund, that money would make anywhere from 7 to 10% interest. The rule of 72, which I posted before, says if you put money into a mutual fund, it's going to double every 7 years. So let's say you have a child that's 7 years old. If you were to put $3,000 in that account by the time they turn 7, and that's all you put in there, if you let that money sit by the time they turn 21, which will be about the time they leave college, that $3,000 will turn to $12,000. Now, the way education is right now, it's hard for $12,000 to pay for education, but that's a nice chunk of change that you can get for your kids to pay for college without coming out of your pockets. And that comes from interest only. All you put in was 3,000, and that 3 turned into 12. If you're talking about grandkids, if let's say all the kids are under 5 years old, and this is for you, Kim, and let's say you don't want to give the grandkids money now, or heaven forbid something happens tomorrow, and you don't want to have their parents responsible for watching over $10,000 for each grandchild. Let's take the time value of money. They're all 5 years old. You put the money into an account. You can create a trust, and you want to have 50,000 in that account. So the rule of 72, that money's going to double every 7 years. So if they're 5 now, that means 7, 14. Let's say that you want them to get the money when they're 25. You want each kid to get $10,000 when they turn 25, which means you would need $50,000 in the account. 50, 25, 12, 6. So if you put $6,000 into a trust that has a mutual fund, you put that money there now, in 21 years, that 6,000 will be worth 50. So that's something you can do for the 5 great grandkids if they're under 5 years old, and you want to make sure whether you're alive or you're not, that they each get $10,000 when they become adult, 25 years old. And that number could be 10,000, 20,000, whatever. But you start from the beginning and you figure out how to get to the end. So that would be one way, the 529 for education, or just a general trust if you want to leave them something. You can always do life insurance as well. So yeah, Kim said Daniels has tripled, and that's his graduation gift. So yeah, we had a good 3 years in terms of the market between 2022 and 2025, the market gave back 20% every year. So if you were invested in the stock market, not the stock market, if you were invested in just basic mutual funds, if you had $10,000 in a mutual fund in 2022, it paid you back $2,000, and it did that for 3 straight years. So that's just the power of compounding. So if you don't have anything in a mutual fund or a ETF, I suggest you put some money in there now and let it sit. And Kim said that's his 529. Now, we'll let you know this, Kim, because now that he's done with college, that 529, he can't pull from it because 529 is only for education expenses. So if he has student loans, you want to pay those off, you can. But if you want to just give him that money, then you're going to have to pay taxes on it. So what I would suggest, if you don't want to give him all of it, convert your 529 into a Roth IRA and let that Roth IRA sit, and then that money will keep growing even more. And once we do a savings presentation, I'll talk more about Roth IRAs and ETFs and mutual funds and stuff like that. It sounds complicated and it sounds like something that Black people shouldn't be a part of, but I promise you it's extremely simple. The way modern technology is right now, all you got to do is fill out one form, put some money in it, and just let it sit. This is something that white people have been doing for the past 50 years that we've kind of been on the outside looking in, and it's not because they don't want us to, it's because nobody has done stuff like this to educate us on how or why to do it. And the ones in the past who have educated us have found a way to steal some money for themselves, just to be honest. So it's hard to find reliable, trustworthy people who can talk to you about stuff like this because they want to try to find a way to get their pay cut out of it. But for me, I want to see everybody succeed, whether you're family or not. So if anybody has any questions about anything finance related, feel free to ask me. If I don't have the answer, I try my best to find it for you. And whatever you tell me, I promise will not be shared with the rest of the family. Because again, at the end of the day, this is about generational wealth. And generational wealth can mean not having a trust fund to take care of you for the rest of your life. It just means having something to pass down to the next generation other than debt. Because one thing I told my parents when I moved out of the house, I told them that if I can't give y'all something back, the least I can do is not have y'all cover my debts. So even though I couldn't buy my mom the car she wanted or my dad the truck he wanted, I didn't take money out of their pockets so that they couldn't buy it for themselves. And I want us to be able to do that for our kids, because I feel like in a lot of Black families, it's too many passing the hat around to try to get somebody buried or trying to do GoFundMe's to pay for funerals, because nobody thought about how to save or plan for the future. So I hope everybody got something out of this. I see the views are starting to go up a few more. So thank you for everybody who joined late. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. If you have a topic of discussion for next time, if you have a certain type of person you want me to bring in next time, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Everybody have a good day.